Faithful Focus, Wisdom from the Word. Luke chapter 2, verses 1 through 7. Welcome, viewers and subscribers, to my channel, The Backstory and More. I am Audrey. Today I am going to share with you a bit of wisdom from the Word, based on Luke chapter 2, verses 1 through 7. The humble birth of Jesus, a reflection on Luke chapter 2, verses 1 through 7. The passage in Luke chapter 2, verses 1 through 7 recounts one of the most well-known moments in history, the birth of Jesus Christ. It is a story filled with profound meaning, subtle irony, and divine purpose. These few verses capture the humility, sovereignty, and faithfulness of God as He brings His eternal plan of salvation into the world. Let us explore this text in detail and uncover its significance. Historical context and God's sovereignty. The passage begins with a decree from Caesar Augustus, the Roman emperor, calling for a census to be taken across the empire. This was not merely a random event in history, but a divinely orchestrated moment. By requiring everyone to return to their ancestral towns, the census brought Joseph and Mary to Bethlehem, fulfilling the prophecy in Micah chapter 5, verse 2, which foretold that the Messiah would come from Bethlehem, the city of David. This demonstrates God's sovereignty over human affairs. Even the most powerful ruler of the known world was unknowingly a servant in God's redemptive plan. Caesar Augustus believed he was solidifying his political control, but God used this decree to fulfill His purposes, His promises. It is a reminder that no human authority can thwart God's purposes. The journey to Bethlehem. Joseph and Mary's journey from Nazareth to Bethlehem was approximately 90 miles, a long and arduous trip, especially for a woman in the late stages of pregnancy. This detail highlights the obedience and faith of both Joseph and Mary. Despite the difficulty of the journey, they trusted God's plan and carried out their civic responsibility. Their experiences resonate with us today. Life often brings unexpected challenges, yet God uses even the difficult paths to accomplish His will. Joseph and Mary's journey reminds us that faith sometimes requires perseverance and trust in God's guidance. The humility of Christ's birth. Upon arriving in Bethlehem, Joseph and Mary found no room at the inn. Mary gave birth to her son in a stable, placing him in a manger, a feeding trough for animals. This is a striking image. The King of Kings, the Savior of the world, born in a place meant for livestock. This humble beginning was no accident. It reflected the very nature of Jesus' mission. He came not to be served, but to serve. Mark chapter 10, verse 45. His birth in such lowly circumstances demonstrated that God's kingdom operates differently from human expectations. While the world values power, wealth, and status, God's greatest gift entered the world in simplicity and humility. The manger also symbolizes accessibility. Jesus was not born in a palace, hidden from the world. Instead, He came into the world in a way that even the poorest and most marginalized could approach Him. This reinforces the message that salvation is for everyone, regardless of status or background. God's faithfulness in fulfilled prophecy. Luke's account emphasizes that Jesus' birth fulfilled Old Testament prophecies. From being born in Bethlehem, Michael chapter 5, verse 2, to being of the lineage of David, Isaiah chapter 9, verse 7, every detail points to God's faithfulness in keeping his promises. For centuries, the Jewish people had awaited the Messiah, and now, in the most unexpected way, he had arrived. This fulfillment of prophecy is a reminder that God's timing is perfect, even when it doesn't align with human expectations. The symbolism of no room. Luke notes that there was no room for them in the inn. This detail, while practical, carries profound symbolic meaning. It reflects the world's initial rejection of Christ. From his birth to his crucifixion, Jesus would face rejection from the very people he came to save. This raises a question for us. Do we have room for Jesus in our lives? In the busyness and distractions of life, it can be easy to push him aside. Yet, as this story shows, welcoming Jesus into our lives, no matter how humble the space we can offer, brings eternal significance. Conclusion. Luke chapter 2, verses 1 through 7 is far more than an historical account. It is a theological masterpiece that reveals God's character and his plan for humanity. Through the decree of a Roman emperor, the perseverance of a faithful couple, and the humble birth of the Savior, God's sovereignty, humility, and faithfulness shine brightly. This passage challenges us to reflect on the nature of God's kingdom. It invites us to embrace humility, trust God's timing, and make room for Jesus in our hearts. As we celebrate this story, let us remember the incredible truth it proclaims. God is with us, and he came into our broken world to bring salvation to all. Thank you so very much for watching, and join me soon for the next Wisdom from the Word.